I am an Indian citizen. I stay in India. But I also run a US company which I use to run my US e-com ventures. Now I have multiple e-commerce ventures in the US that I run through that US company that have processed multiple millions in the past 3 years. And in this video, I'm going to tell you how you can run your own US company from India, staying in India, being an Indian citizen, but still manage a full-fledged US company that runs your e-com ventures seamlessly. So let's dive in. Now, because you're running a business, it is imperative that you have to have a company in India. So I've had my Indian private limited company for many, many years. And just 3 years ago, when I decided, okay, I'm going to go big in the US, I decided to open up the US company. Now, I registered my US company using a platform called Stripe Atlas. Now, Stripe Atlas is mainly meant for startups who basically have, say, softwares or SaaS products. And when I'd applied at that time, I did have a SaaS product that I was selling. So on the basis of that, I got my US company. Even if you don't have a SaaS product or a consultancy, you can still start your US company. Well, how is that? Well, there are Stripe Atlas alternatives, something like startpack.io. So if you go to startpack.io, you'll see that it's a number one alternative to Stripe Atlas for LLCs for non-US founders. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I just did a quick Google search and I found this website, and it does seem quite legitimate because they have a bunch of reviews, video reviews, and they are also backed by Y Combinator and Hustle Fund and stuff. So now what is included? Well, as you can see, LLC formation for US and foreign founders, a US business bank account plus Stripe or PayPal payments, a US mailing address plus US phone line with a utility bill. So it does seem like they're going to give you pretty much everything you need to run your US business. As you can see, I've made a Google folder of when my company was registered. There are several different documents that are issued by the authorities when your company is incorporated. Something like an EIN number, and when you're starting up bank account, then a bank deposit agreement, a board approval of shares, bylaws, certificate of incorporation, and mainly that's it. In order to start a US company, you need minimum one director. So if you are the one who's mainly handling the Indian operations and you founded your Indian company, you can actually start the US company on your own as well. In India, you need minimum 2 directors for a private limited. In the US, you just need 1 director. Of course, if you have other partners, you can include them in the application as well, so you can have multiple directors in your company. For most cases, an LLC, which is a limited liability company, or a C Corp will work. In my case, I registered a C Corp, and the startpack.io that I just showed you, they are registering an LLC. Both of them work pretty well. Now, because when I registered, I used Stripe Atlas. So they had partnership with Silicon Valley Bank. So I did get a bank account there. I also got a Stripe account just as soon as I signed up. So all of those things were granted. I did not get a PayPal account, for which I had to fight quite a bit. But in your case, getting a bank account is going to be very important, because a lot of payments that you do to your vendors, to your 3PL company, to your suppliers, whatnot, to a lot of software expenses, a lot of those you can actually do directly from your US bank account. Because if you use your Indian cards or your Indian bank account to make all of those payments, you're basically paying a hefty currency conversion fee or a markup fee to the banks of India, which you don't want, because that's just wasted money and it just drives down your margins quite a bit. So in order to minimize that currency conversion fee, what I have done, for example, if I have to pay my Chinese supplier, or if I have to pay my 3PL company, or if I have to pay some other vendor, so I basically send out wire or ACH. ACH is a payment method. For example, here you have NEFT, etc. There they have ACH. You just need to enter a routing number and your account number and your company name, and that's it, and you'll be able to make the payment quite easily. In order to send wire transfers, I can easily create wire templates inside my bank account. I can just select the wire template whenever I need to make a payment, enter the amount, click, and that's it. I can send wire transfers pretty seamlessly. Now, if you do get a Stripe account, then it becomes pretty easy, because you can connect your Stripe account to your Shopify store and run your business that way. If you don't get a Stripe account, you can even apply for a Shopify payments account. Once you have set up your Shopify store, you can actually upload your company documents, enter your bank details, actually start a chat or thread with support, explaining them that you just recently formed your company, and explain your company business, explain the products that you'll be selling. And there is a high chance that you're going to get approved for Shopify payments also, if all the documents are in order. Once you have Shopify payments, that's pretty awesome because it is actually better than Stripe. Because if you have Shopify payments, the 1% or 2% fees that Shopify charges per sale, that is also not charged. So that's awesome. Now let's talk about PayPal. In order to get a PayPal account, I did wait a couple of years. There's a reason for it because I'd heard horror stories that a lot of people had started a US PayPal account from India, and then as their business started to grow, they were asked a bunch of documents which they did not have, and their entire account was suspended. So if you're running a business at low scale, you should be able to get away with a US PayPal account that, for example, startpack.io will give you. But if you're running a business at scale, or if you want to scale your business, what I would recommend is have at least 1 year of tax filing. Because as my PayPal account had started to scale, I was asked a bunch of documents, and one of the most important documents that helped me get my account approved was that tax document. So if you run your business for 1 year and you file your taxes, and the filing of tax generally happens in February or March of the following year, if you have that document which is attested by a chartered accountant of your filed tax, that is a document that you can upload to PayPal, and that is widely accepted. Now, by the way, if I forgot to mention, in this entire process, I've never had to visit US once. All of this, whatever I've managed my company, managed my taxes, managed everything, every single thing that happens in the company, I manage straight up sitting here in India. Now, a lot of you might have a question regarding double taxation. Well, how do you prevent double taxation? So let me tell you, you have to pay taxes both for your US company in the US and for the Indian company in India. So you have both companies, right? So the way I have set up my business is that the US company gets all of the payments from PayPal, from Shopify payments. All of the revenue goes into the US company. But the US company also pays for all of the expenses. For example, for getting the product supplied, for the 3PL warehouse, for all of the software expenses, even for the ads. All of this is paid by the US company. Now, once my operation had reached a certain scale, I started withdrawing money to my Indian bank account, started sending wire transfers from my US company to my Indian company. Why? Because the Indian company, me and my staff are the ones who are managing the entire operation. So basically what happens is your Indian company becomes like a consultancy firm to your US company, and your US company pays the consultancy fees to India. So about 90% of the profit that you generate over time, you can actually bring back to India. All of that money that comes into your Indian company becomes the revenue for your Indian company, and you can use that revenue to pay salaries or to pay other expenses. And from that, your profit is calculated that you can pay tax in India. And from the US perspective, because all of those payments were made, those were business expenses, so those are not taxable. So in that way, you're not double taxed. All of the money you're sending to India is taxed in India. All of the money that is left over as profit after all expenses, after paying vendors, after paying to your Indian company as a consultation fee, after paying to 3PL, after paying to Facebook and whatnot. So after paying all of this, whatever little is left as your profit, that becomes your net profit on which taxes are charged. I believe taxes are about 21%. Don't quote me on this, but I let a CPA handle all of the filing. Now, how does that work? Well, towards the end of the year, for example, right now it's February. So I'm going to basically prepare an Excel sheet, which is going to have a summary of all of the revenue and expenses that the company incurred in the past 1 year. And I'm going to send it over to a CPA that I hired using Upwork. They are a licensed, certified CPA. So they are going to look through all of this, look through the documents, and then file the tax for me. And then that's pretty much it. And finally, what about US state taxes? Now, if your business reaches a certain scale, each and every state in the US has their own thresholds for state taxes. So in order to understand that, go to taxjar.com and understand economic nexus in different states and what are the thresholds that each state has. What you can do is connect a Shopify store with TaxJar, and it calculates all of that for you automatically. Whichever states you reach your threshold, you can register for state taxes in those states and then file them. Sometimes some of the states have monthly filing, some of them have quarterly, and very rarely some of them even have annual filing. And actually TaxJar has an auto file mechanism where they file all of these taxes for you. Even you can do it yourself because it's just filling up a simple few fields every month or every quarter for a few states. So I hope this video was helpful for you. Let the discussion start in the comments below. I'll see you next time.